The next bill is Senate Bill 27, and I know Senator DiPalma has been enjoying the committee hearing because I think you've been with us all afternoon, and that's great. And welcome, Senator DiPalma, if you would endeavor to explain your legislation before us this evening.
Thank you, Madam Chair. May I share a 31-second video with you?
It's perfectly fine with me. We like videos.
Let me just go find it here. I think I got it right.
Picture is worth 1,000 words, as they say.
I promise this will be 31 seconds. Are you ready? Madam Chair, I'm going to do this.
Yes.
Okay.
All set?
And I'm going to work to stop sharing in a minute if I can figure this out.
Okay.
Okay. Stop view, share. Okay. Now, stop sharing. Okay.
Okay.
Madam Chair, thank you very much.
I was anticipating something else, Senator Palmer, when I saw the screen, but that's
okay.
That one video was good enough. But so you can endeavor to explain. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will be brief on the legislation in front of you. Let me start with saying this is a work in progress, and the legislation is primarily focused on personal delivery devices. The legislation also talks to mobile devices. Put that aside for a second. We're focusing on here on personal delivery devices. And I'll reiterate again, and I'll say it at the very end, it's a legislation with a work in progress. You know me, I always start with why a piece of legislation is brought forward and why now. This delivery is focused on short-run deliveries, mile to mile and a half, and that's what's been tested and that's what's been looked at across the country of what's been looked at. There's an increased demand now more than ever, especially during the pandemic with the surge of online purchases from both local companies, small and large, and internet companies. Obviously, internet companies can be companies that are local, but we're really looking at this, and the focus of this delivery service is in a mile plus kind of range. And it has the ability to rapidly support small businesses via same-day service. It's not cross-country, it's not cross-cities, it's small areas. There's a few companies that have what are called personal delivery devices, PDD. The one you saw there was in fact one from FedEx. There's one from Amazon, the Amazon Scout. There's one called Starship, Kiwi, RoboMart, Teleretail, etc. So there's more of those coming on the scene, and we're in the advent of personal delivery devices. A side note, the device you saw, Roxo, R-O-X-O, that was designed and developed by Dean Kamen. We're all probably familiar with Dean Kamen from the Segway, but we here in Rhode Island are probably more familiar with Dean Kamen and the iBot technology since Congressman Langevin. His wheelchair was designed by Dean Kamen, and if you saw that device go up the stairs, similar kinds of technology that Congressman Langevin employs in his wheelchair. So what's happened to date? We've had a meeting with Rhode Island DMV to get their concerns and feedback. I know they. Are you going to go pick it up? Okay, we're not picking anything up yet. I know you have a letter from the DMV. There's a letter from the DMV that you have, Madam Chair, that talks about the concerns. We had a meeting with them about that. We're also going to have a follow-up meeting, and in the next meeting include Director Alvidi, who I'll be calling this weekend probably, to include in that meeting as well, because Rhode Island DOT needs to be part of the conversation. one of the areas that I'm concerned about, all should be concerned about, and the folks that want to use these devices or delivery devices are concerned about is testing. One could think about, well, how is a particular delivery company concerned about safety, which is preeminent here in testing? Well, many of the delivery services, whether it's FedEx, whether it's UPS, whatever, they have planes, they have pilots. Their pilots go through certified training and to do and testing to ensure they can transport the goods that they have wherever they're going via plane. So the same, not the same kind of FAA testing here, but the kinds of things we should want to be concerned about are standards that we want to have ensure that the personal delivery devices meet, such as ISO, International Organization of Standardization. We're all familiar with UL. Everything we plug into the wall has a little UL tag on it for Underwriters Laboratory. Another area, National Institutes of Standards, NIST. You hear me talk a lot about cybersecurity. We should be concerned about these from a cybersecurity perspective and the cybersecurity framework that NIST has put forward several years ago. And in fact, a framework standard that just came out, believe it or not, today, Madam Chair, as it relates to, and you say, why is this important? And I'll end after this. It's associated with position, navigation, and timing. Think of that as code word for GPS. One's going to expect these devices are going to use GPS to know where they are. Well, should GPS go up in certain areas, there needs to be a way to have these devices go to a safe state and be able to be returned to a safe state and stop where they are. And there's a NIST IR 8323 that this one might need to apply to. With all that said, I'm happy to present this year. It was submitted last year. It was not heard due to COVID. We will have some folks coming on to speak in more detail. In fact, I believe Chad Wilkes will be on to talk a little bit more about the why of the need for this. And I'm sure there'll be others that will speak about from their perspective of what their concerns are. And with that, Madam Chair, I'll turn it back to you.
You're muted.
I know,
Madam Chair?
I try to be careful with that, but anyway, did I hear Senator Picard? No? Okay. I guess there's no questions now.
Question.
There
I
is
have a question.
Senator Mack? Yes.
Sorry, got too excited. Thank you, Senator DiPalma, for that video and presentation. I had a couple of questions. As someone who really loves sci-fi novels and loves thinking about the future that is now, how will this automation account for loss of jobs and or a shorter work week as we think about think about revenue staying the same for some of these companies that are going to employ these robotics in some of their workforce, but also maintain fair pay and fair work schedules for the employers that are potentially replaced by these devices?
Senator, great question. So my background is in computer engineering and computer science. So everything I do is associated with how do you do more with technology to take the traditional things off the table from somebody else that doesn't have to be concerned about that. With regards from a jobs perspective and employment perspective, this will increase jobs on the side of the employment for the development, manufacturing, the fabrication, manufacturing, assembly, test, integration of these devices, because not will they proliferate? Uncertain. Will this become a Uber or a Lyft personal, as you just heard a second ago regarding what New Shoreham was looking like in that realm and become ubiquitous? I don't know. I'm not going to speculate on where it's going to go, but there'll be additional jobs in the area where people are looking at small companies are looking to, or local companies, not even just small businesses, could be regular business, looking to compete with some of those other companies that are out there that can provide same-day service. This might be the ability to provide same-day service, so existing companies will stay in business, maybe gain more people because they're able to serve a local community better than they had if they had to wait several days. And I'll just say, if you're going to order something from Amazon and you're on Amazon Prime, and you can get it the next day as opposed to 2 or 3 days later, and it's the same price, you might just do that, unfortunately.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Mack, and Senator Palmer. We do have some witnesses. I'm sorry, Senator Morgan, do you have a question?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator Mack, for raising that concern also. That was my concern. I think it's going to eliminate a lot of jobs, and in a time of this time, I mean, it's not a good time to eliminate jobs. People are suffering right now, and I just feel that automating it, I'm not concerned with the mechanics of it, the GPS or the safety of it. It's taking away jobs, just like Stop and Shop or the grocery stores with the automated systems. Those are taking jobs. So that's my concern.
Madam Chair, if I may?
Yes, please, Senator Palmer.
Thank you. Senator Morgan, good question. I appreciate the concern. So when I go to a couple things, we've all been to probably Stop and Shop, right? And I can't think of his name or her name, but the robot that comes walking down the aisle, or not walking down the aisle, but wheeling down the aisle. And I almost tackled it one day. I turned, and some folks who know me, I walk pretty fast. I'm not looking where I'm going. I almost hugged the thing and tackled it, but probably about a split second I missed it. Well, they're using that there because I believe it helps them with regards to spills on the aisles and with regards to insurance claims and liability. With regards, so there's a use for those there where they could have had somebody continually walking back and forth down aisles do the same, but it benefits there. With regards to automated systems or automated aisles, self-checkout, I make a point of not using self-checkout. Why? I'm concerned about those jobs. Categorically, I have one or two items I want to walk through. There's people that are working there. I want to keep them employed. I do that. So there's other ways. I can't say categorically this. I don't think anyone can say about the loss of jobs categorically because there's no facts or data to substantiate that. But if we look at the jobs that this will grow, if you think about the advent of the computer, and I'm not going to go back there, and what that's been able to allow us to do, and the number of jobs that's brought to the table, technology brings jobs in other ways. So, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Senator Morgan, for the question.
Thank you, Senator DiPalma.
Thank you, Senators. With that, I believe we do have a call. Oh, I'm sorry, Senator Mendez, did you have a question?
I did. Thank you so much, Chairwoman. And thank you, Senator DiPalma, for your patience today and the thorough information. I do love hearing about innovation, so this is great and interesting. I believe my colleagues Senator Mack and Senator Morgan did bring up the jobs question, and you somewhat answered it for me with the data part, because my question was like, was there any studies? Is there any studies regarding? So it's a twofold question. Were there any studies that would kind of talk about job impact loss? Job loss impact, and then conversely, what may actually be, beneficial to us is, there are any studies that you know of or can speak of that this may actually help reduce greenhouse gas emissions, because there may be some less vehicles on the road and delivery vehicles going, not needing to make as many trips. So in the same way that there's a concern about a potential job loss, there may be some helping in that department. So are there any studies that you can reference either in the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions and or the job loss?
So let me answer the latter part first, Senator Mendes. With regards to so the short answer is no for both of those. I don't have any studies personally that I'm aware of. I'll certainly check to see what might exist, but I can't point to any right now. With regards though to, I'll say, empirically thinking about the situation, it will reduce greenhouse gases, but I think we'd have to have a proliferation of them to make, if I use the starfish analogy, does it affect that one starfish? Yes, but and these are all electric vehicles, right? Basically, they're going to be battery-driven vehicles that you might expect. So it will reduce, it will address climate issue, climate change, greenhouse gas, fossil fuel, etc. But extremely negligible in small numbers. If we're going to proliferate these, then that's really not the intent, right? Then you're going to go back to, we get the bigger vehicles to go do things because I'm going to do them on the routes that I have. With regards to the jobs, I don't have any set of facts or data there from a jobs perspective on either side of the equation. But if we looked at some different things, the concern about displacement of workers, I'm concerned about that as well. But it's also the ability to grow jobs in other areas at the same time. But I don't know if it's a zero-sum game in the end. We've got to talk about proliferation of these. There's still a lot of testing that has to happen, and that's part of this. One of these you're going to see, we will be having the follow-up call. I should have mentioned this, Madam Chair. Excuse me. You saw in that video, and I can share the link with you, Madam Chair, and you can get it off the committee members to look at. Or if you just Google Roxo, R-O-X-O, you'll find many things out there. Pennsylvania's been doing a lot of work in this area. That one snippet of video vignette had many states that were looking at legislation that might have passed. We'll be looking at the Pennsylvania legislation, which is a little more robust than what we have here. But we wanted to at least start the conversation with something. Thank you, Senator Mendes. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, thank you. Madam Chair, may I have a follow-up question?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Yeah, Senator DiPalma, thank you for that explanation. And again, this is quite exciting stuff. I'm curious if there's any questions regarding accessibility, meaning that this may be something that would thrive in some communities and not in others. And if that's a concern of yours, or maybe through other states that maybe have started this initiative, if you've seen them overcome that in any way.
The short answer is, let me the latter part first. Don't know. The person who might come up next might. I'm not certain, Senator Mendes, there's enough data, there's enough statistically relevant data to look at. There might be, I'm just not aware of it, but I think more needs to happen over time to see who can benefit from this. But I think from a small business perspective, as we think about somebody say, well, loss of jobs, if a small business in any of our cities, any of our districts, any of our districts, if they have the ability to deliver a item to somebody the same day, that small business is going to grow. They'll need more people to work for them. And how does that help them? Because they can do that same day delivery that day, as opposed to potentially the way they would need to do same day delivery might be too costly, or the time to get it out. There's not enough empirical data or statistically relevant data, significant data to answer that question. So.
Thank you, Senator. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Senator Mendes. Senator Anderson has some questions.
I was wondering, I too love talking about innovation and new ways of looking at things and climate change issues. But is this bill just to establish rules and regulations to get that in place before these perhaps come into use? I mean, is that what we're deciding today? Not their.
You're right on. They cannot be used right now because Rhode Island general law doesn't allow them.
So that's what this bill is saying.
Absolutely. That's what this bill begins yes, this bill is the wedge that we would need in Rhode Island general law that would allow this to happen. Without it, they can't be used.
So it opens the door to this, but it's not saying, all these specifics that we're talking about. It's just rules and regulations for allowing this to happen.
Yes, my only hesitation with rules and regs, Rhode Island general law, sometimes rules and regs can take an epic.
Yeah.
An epic can be this big or this big. Rhode Island general law gets put in place, it happens. So if we want to move and advance something, not that Rhode Island general law is always the way to do it. It's a big hammer sometimes when changing a rule or reg to do it. But Rhode Island general law, institutional. If you change the law, you're institutionalizing, you're memorializing an act, a decision, or whatever. So it's there, it's clear. Rules and regs can go on forever.
Yeah.
They'll take a life of their own. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
All
Good
set?
question.
Members, all set? Okay, we do have some witnesses calling in. Welcome. Is this Senator Paul Mcdonald?
Yes, it is, Senator.
Welcome to the
Thank you very
committee.
much. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it very much, Senator Sinowski and Madam Chair, I should say, members of the committee. I miss seeing all of you. I have to say that quickly. This is all strange to me. And before I get into my testimony, I have to thank Senator DiPalma for helping me with the technology. I wouldn't be here without him, I'll tell you truthfully. I had a hard time navigating through all of this. So I hope you'll all be patient with me. I'm a first-timer, so I'm going to give it the best shot I got, okay?
Yes, and we're glad you're giving it a shot.
Okay. On behalf of, I'll start off by, my name is Paul Mcdonald. I'm the Legislative Director for Teamsters Local 251. And on behalf of the Teamsters Local 251, we are opposed to Senate Bill 0027, personal delivery devices. And we're asking you to reject this Senate Bill 0027. There's no surprise here, no matter how well intended, in our opinion. The bill is another job-killing bill. Package delivery is an important middle-class profession that provides a stable job to hundreds of Rhode Islanders. Over the years, this body, or the Senate, I should say, you have all worked hard to find ways to create and attract good-paying jobs with benefits that workers can lay a foundation to raise a family. Teamsters, postal workers, truckers, UFCW members, to name a few, who enjoy good wages, good benefits would be hurt by this bill. Our UPS drivers are our neighbors, our friends, and who, through paying taxes and spending money in their community, are supporting our towns and cities, who are dealing with an economic crisis unlike any I've ever heard in our lifetime. Teamsters, meaning the UPSs, as we call them, are the package delivery men and women serving Rhode Island in this pandemic and a lifeline to our families and community. They're afraid of this bill, and rightfully so, because these are kind of technology that puts people out of work, not to work. And with the unemployment at historical highs and people anxious and ready to return to work, it is not the time to start automating more jobs out of existence. To further automate middle-class jobs, which are the very jobs needed, is wrong and short-sighted. And quite frankly, if saving middle-class jobs is not enough reason to reject this legislation, then you might look at the other bad parts of this bill as we see it. The speed of those boxes. 12 miles an hour on a sidewalk. The average adult human walking speed is approximately 3 miles per hour, unless you're as old as I am, which is a little slower. And if these devices are to share sidewalks and crosswalks with pedestrians, with machinery that weighs nearly a half a ton, with no on-site operator, should move no faster than the pedestrians, and certainly not 3 times the speed of the average human. 20 miles an hour on the road. That is an accident waiting to happen. And I'll leave that to your own imaginations as to what you would do seeing one of those little things on the side of the road. And another thing that we thought of and saw was that although the bill outlaws the transportation of hazardous materials without a human monitoring the delivery of a package, the bill actually ties the hands of our local elected officials. Local governments should be able to restrict delivery items that become stolen or lost. Weapons, knives, chemicals, medicines, etc. comes to mind. And I think that, quite honestly, local government must be allowed to regulate and or ban these devices if it is decided by the citizens' elected leaders. The devices are not a one-size-fits-all solution. And local leaders can best determine where they are appropriate without having to jump through hoops. Then comes the liability. I saw there was $100,000 coverage. Under the bill, clarity is needed on who is liable for damages if the device is injured, kill, or cause a traffic or other accident resulting in damage, injury, or death. The operator of these devices must be an employee who is trained in technology and not an independent contractor, as we like to talk about a lot with the FedEx people. Independent contractors are a real problem because we don't know who's above them. Damages to the device and caused by the device must be the responsibility of the company, not the independent contractor. And under the insurance section, it only identifies the business entity as needing to maintain at least $100,000 coverage. Any dollar amount must take into consideration the additional risk of potential pedestrian collisions or traffic accidents. I would think there got to be much better clarification of physical control and monitoring by an operator. There's no stipulation that an operator must be within a certain number of feet, unlike in the mobile carrying device language. If the device injures someone, it is crucial that an operator be nearby in order maybe to administer aid or even call for assistance. I want to thank you for giving us this time, and I just have to leave you with, for the reasons and a few more, Teamsters Local 251, we oppose this bill, and we ask you to do the same. I know that I'm between you and supper, so I'll thank you very much for the time, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you have, if you so have some.
Thank you, Paul, for your testimony.
Thank you.
Let's see
Thank
if
you,
any of the
Senator.
committee members have questions. Are there any questions for Mr. McDonald? I just wanted to say, Paul, you brought up several interesting issues. Some of the committee members had mentioned about losing jobs and so forth, but when you brought up about the insurance issues, I'm really surprised. I don't think we've received any testimony from any of the insurance and companies, and that's something that this committee does deal with quite a bit with the insurance companies and so forth. So I think we'll have to reach out to them and get some information from them as well. So thank you for bringing that up, Paul. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Senator. I'm glad I did. I would say I look at this whole thing. I'm amazed how it's ever going to work anyway in Rhode Island, to be truthful about it. I mean, I can't see it coming down the road. By the way, on the road at 20 miles an hour.
Right. Well,
It's amazing. Well, I'll leave that. I'll stop there.
Okay. Thank you very much for your testimony and joining us in our new endeavor here with moving forward with the technology that we're using in this arena.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank everybody.
It looks like we have another phone call coming in. Hello. Welcome to the
Yes, hello.
Commerce Committee. Is this Chad Wilkes?
Yes, it is.
Welcome, welcome. You're on. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Thank you, Chairwoman Sosnowski and members of the committee. As you said, my name is Chad Wilkes, and I'm here today representing FedEx. I'd like to begin by thanking Senator DiPalma for introducing this bill, which has been adopted in recent years by 7 other states. FedEx is excited to speak in favor of Senate Bill 27 and personal delivery devices. FedEx has worked with New Hampshire-based FedEx DECA Research, founded by Dean Kamen, to create next-generation same-day bot named Roxo, as Mr. DiPalma stated. Roxo has been tested on the streets of Manchester, New Hampshire, Memphis, Tennessee, Plano, Texas, and Frisco, Texas, to gather real-world performance data in a variety of environments and scenarios. The legislation before you will pave the way for the next generation of delivery services powered by personal delivery devices that are demanded by our customers and created to serve businesses and consumers in Rhode Island safely and efficiently while delivering same-day, last-mile goods. Roxo has been designed in response to the rapid growth of e-commerce, the complexities and expense of last-mile delivery, and our commitment to environmental sustainability and public safety. Our bot's purpose is to travel at moderate speeds on sidewalks and along roadsides to deliver small shipments safely to consumers at their homes and businesses in a hyper-local area where the destination is within 5 miles of the origin. This is even more prevalent with the challenges we faced during the COVID pandemic. Now more than ever, PDDs, as they're referred to, are a viable option to deliver goods in a way that reduces human contact, all while offering a new, fast, and efficient service. The global pandemic has propelled technologies like PDDs to the forefront of the supply chain, giving businesses like FedEx the ability to provide last-mile delivery in a safe, time-sensitive way. Let me just touch on a few of the features of Roxo that may not have been highlighted yet. Obviously, Roxo is a zero-emission, battery-powered device. Although not a vehicle, Roxo has the ability to operate on both the sidewalk and the edge of roads, enabling more timely deliveries and the ability to select the best routing depending on various factors, including avoiding construction and congested areas. It is built on the iBot wheelchair base, engineered by DECA, with over 10 million hours of error-free operation. Roxo's height allows people, whether walking or from the seat of their car, to see him easily at eye level. He's equipped with lights and communication screens for signaling stops and turns. Roxo weighs 450 pounds with carrying capacity up to 100 pounds and operates on a substantial mechanical base equipped with stabilizing technology. The wheels and stabilizing technology allow Roxo to traverse all kinds of surfaces and climb curbs and deep steps, as you saw in the video. And he is capable of traveling at variable speeds and is programmed to operate within the approved speed limits. Roxo's autonomous operations are always remotely monitored. If Roxo encounters a situation where he doesn't know how to proceed, he will immediately stop and call for remote assistance. If necessary, a FedEx remote operator will navigate around the obstacle, and once clear, Roxo will resume autonomous navigation. FedEx's current transportation operations currently follow U.S. code for hazardous material transport, and since Roxo will be another delivery asset in the FedEx fleet, we would continue to follow those same U.S. codes. FedEx looks forward to working with the committee on this legislation. As Senator DiPalma said earlier, we had a meeting with DMV, and we expect to continue to work with them throughout this process. Would also like to offer to the committee to provide a limited demonstration of Roxo as soon as COVID and safe travel permits. Thank you, and I'll take questions if you have any.
Thank you very much. We do have questions. Senator Mack?
Hi, yes, thank you for your time. And I was wondering, since you've implemented these Roxo devices in 7 other states, what work has FedEx done to make sure that in the process of automation, we are ensuring jobs are kept amongst workers in your agency? And do you have any numbers on jobs created or jobs maintained with the implementation of Roxo in these 7 states?
Yeah, so let me clarify that. So that is legislation similar to what is here, has passed in several other states. Currently, we're still in product development and testing with our customers. And operations and building the business around Roxo is very much a core part of what we're focused on. You know, one of the issues that I've kind of heard discussed in the committee today is the challenges of the cost of service especially discussed in Senate Bill 21, really highlight the limitations of the current transportation network. And Roxo provides the ability for those smaller businesses to access services in order to increase their output and their service to the community. As specifically talking about the kinds of jobs that Roxo creates, I've already mentioned the remote operators. Obviously, FedEx is very committed to our people. That's people internally to our company, but also people in our communities that we serve, and ensuring that those individuals have quality benefits. Remote operators is one. Maintenance workers, obviously, these are devices that are highly mechanical and need to be maintained on a regular basis. So maintenance workers to service the fleet of vehicles, as well as customer service teams to support our customers and their consumers. Senator DiPalma obviously talked about the manufacturing and development work. And so we've seen a significant number of jobs created already, and we haven't even launched the product yet. This will continue to be, I think, revealed and highlighted as we get closer to commercialization. The other part that I'd just like to call out is obviously the energy concern. Roxo, as I mentioned, is a battery-powered zero-emission device. And as FedEx looked at the problem of logistics in the communities that we serve, obviously here in Rhode Island, but around the world, congestion is a huge problem that we're constantly faced against, being able to get vehicles into locations to pick up and service packages. So Roxo, because of its unique abilities to traverse unutilized or underutilized infrastructure, gives us the ability to use the right size vehicle for the right size shipment, and take large vehicles off the road when we're only going, like I said, a couple of miles away from where we pick it up to where we deliver it in a very short amount of time. Having a vehicle, on the road, fossil fuel gas vehicle producing emissions for a couple of mile delivery is not as efficient as having a battery powered small device deliver a 3-pound pizza. Hopefully that's addressed some of those concerns that were brought up earlier.
Yeah, I have one last question for you. What commitment does FedEx have to ensuring increased infrastructure in the form of road creation, bike lanes, and/or increased sidewalks, as you see a fleet of these in the not so distant future, hopefully being implemented?
Yes, absolutely. I think that's one of the reasons why we are so in favor of bills like these around the country, is to help support states and municipalities in the next generation of infrastructure needed to support the community, but also to provide services to the community. And so certainly, devices like Roxo and others don't necessarily have the most well-designed infrastructure, and there's obviously room for improvement for that. But using a device that is built upon the iBot wheelchair base, we have a foundation that's largely based in ADA compliance and taking care of people who are in at-risk communities or underserved communities. So the infrastructure piece, I think, is critical. But again, using the device that we have, I think, gives us a bridge to use the infrastructure we have while also understanding the needs for improvement at the same time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Mack. Senator Coleman, it looks like you have your hand up.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for this presentation. I think I have less a question and more a comment, and I would welcome any comments on my comment. I do think in one way or another, this is probably in our future. It raises a number of questions for me about a broader framework for sort of thinking about it. Some of this goes to Senator Mack's previous question, but use of sidewalks, how this would interface with something like the USPS and sort of like the public parcel delivery infrastructure, and like what it would look like when our sidewalks are, being utilized by these robots, for lack of a better term. I'm reminded of the sort of issues that we had around like the scooters in Providence, that required sort of a lot of negotiation with the community of cyclists and pedestrians and, use of the street, et cetera. And so I guess I would welcome any observations that you have from other places where this has happened, about how these devices interface with the rest of the bike, pedestrian, transit, auto sort of ecology.
Yeah, great comment or hidden question. So the devices are not like scooters that would just be sitting out in the sidewalk waiting for somebody to come by and place an order inside of it. These are intended to be strategically placed at customer retailer locations or business parks where we could serve multiple small business customers at the same time. And then they would access Roxo by using our software, place an order for delivery to their consumer, and place the order inside. From there, Roxo would leave the place of business, go to the delivery destination, complete the delivery, and return back to the business location for its next order. So we would be working with, obviously, retailers and businesses in conjunction with their local officials for, the necessary kind of maybe zoning, building, and permits to place and power and store these devices in a way that is compatible with the community. So I hope that kind of gets at what you're saying. There's another part there talking about USPS and other types of parcel carriers. Again, most of those networks, and FedEx included, are focused on much longer or much larger deliveries. These kinds of deliveries that are intended to be fulfilled by Roxo and devices like it typically are not making its way into the larger delivery service provider network. This represents largely all net new business for FedEx, not necessarily a mode shift or consumption of existing business coming into a new form of delivery method, if I'm making sense for everyone.
All set, Senator? Yes. If you could, Chad, a lot of things that were brought up, I was hoping that, not tonight, but in the future, if you could give us some more information. You referenced the statistics on new jobs using this new form of delivery service. I'd like to see, your proposals on that. And then also, I'm interested to see how it's been working out in other states and what type of insurance FedEx has to carry on these devices in other states. And then, not related to this, but you don't have to answer this evening, but I would really hope that you could follow up with this just for the committee's edification. On FedEx, is there any movement to have more electrified delivery trucks as the fleet ages and there's replacements? I know there's some of those older vehicles out there, and just wondering if that's anything, along with this new form of delivery that we're talking about this evening, if even for the larger fleet, if there is electrification going on and in the future, because that would be twofold. It would be maintaining jobs and also having a cleaner environment, especially in the urban area where the deliveries take place.
Yes. Yeah. So let me give a couple of statements to that effect. One, FedEx is a global company and a large consumer of energy in many different forms. We've had a long track record of focusing on energy sustainability, fossil fuel, and O2, ozone reduction of emissions. And so Roxo is actually a form of that, obviously, but also our deep tradition of innovation. And really this project and this product and device brings many of our kind of core beliefs and company missions together in sustainability, public safety, obviously betterment of the communities that we serve by having affordable services provided. And so, as far as electric trucks and things, I can say that in that heart of innovation and sustainability, we are one of the first companies to test. Typically, most vehicles that service the kinds of needs that we have are still in early phases of electrification and development. But obviously, we have relationships with OEM manufacturers around the world to get access to those latest versions and prototypes and models and start testing those. Roxo is a manifestation of one of those forms, but there's a host of programs across the enterprise and across the globe working at addressing that issue.
Thank you. Any further questions from the committee for this witness? Okay, thank you very much, Chad, and look forward to working with you further on this legislation. If we have any questions, I know you will be a resource. We have your contacts, and we can work with Senator Palmer for more information as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, it looks like we do have another phone call coming in. Hello and welcome to the Senate Commerce Committee. Is this Brad Booth?
It is.
Welcome, you have the floor.
Great. Thank you very much, Chairwoman Sosnowski, members of the committee, for this opportunity to address you. My name is Brad Booth. I'm legal counsel for the Division of Motor Vehicles. Let me start by reiterating the support Administrator Craddock expressed in his written testimony that the DMV has for the use of new transportation technology. Like any technology, the role of the DMV is to ensure that personal delivery devices are deployed within the proper regulatory framework that upholds public safety on the roadways. As Senator DiPalma mentioned, this is a work in progress. Can review the written testimony for the specifics on some of the issues DMV has with the current legislation, but as has been highlighted, several states, most notably Pennsylvania, have recently passed legislation regulating the use of these devices that we can use as guides to develop Rhode Island's framework. And the DMV will continue to reach out to AMVA being the American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators, as we do on many issues, to get best practices from our counterparts. I want to say I appreciate the question that Senator Anderson put forth earlier regarding the authorization in the discussion, because so often the law plays catch-up to technology, and here we have a real opportunity to develop the law concurrently with this technology that's just going to be a benefit to all. So I want to thank Senator DiPalma for opening the dialogue. We look forward to continuing it with him and FedEx and integrating DOT into those discussions so we can strike that proper balance between promoting technological innovation and maintaining the safety of our island's roadways.
Thank you, Mr. Booth. Are there any questions for Mr. Booth from the committee members at this point? And we do have our written testimony from Administrator Craddock as well that you referred to. So thank you very much for your patience and your testimony on this and your willingness to work with the sponsor and the committee as we move forward on this legislation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
It looks like we have another call. Hello, welcome to the Commerce Committee. Is this Randall Rose?
Yes, it is. Thank you, Madam Chair, and welcome.
Welcome
Thank you.
again.
Thank you. So, Madam Chair and members of the committee, I'm opposed to this bill. I appreciate all the good points that have been made by Paul Mcdonald of the Teamsters and by other people about how this will definitely lead to job loss. But there are also a number of other concerns about the bill as well, which I will try to go into. The bill calls these vehicles personal delivery devices, but they are not actually personal. There's nothing personal about them. According to Rhode Island law, they do count as motor vehicles. The bill says that delivery companies can use these devices to deliver products in any city or town, even if the city or town doesn't want it. And as basically all the witnesses have pointed out, we don't have a lot of experience with these devices. They're a new technology. They're not legal in most places. There's a lot of potential for problems with collision with humans or with pets or with other kinds of damage to property. And what the bill does is to preemptively legalize them and foreclose the possibility of cities and towns regulating them, even though we don't yet have a lot of familiarity with the problems that they can cause. But there are a number of concerns that seem pretty clear. First of all, as other people have mentioned, the speed limit is too high. The law allows them to go 12 miles per hour, which you need to really run to catch up with. You need to be a good runner to catch up with that. 12 miles per hour on the sidewalk. And as I read the law, it's if they're going up your driveway to deliver things, they can go 20 miles per hour onto your property. So those speed limits are too high, but the law does not allow cities and towns to change the speed limit or to regulate what areas these devices can go into. For a lot of us, the reference point for this is the Marty robot at Stop and Shop, which Senator DiPalma pointed out. And it is worth comparing it to that, although there are some strong differences. What Stop and Shop says that Marty is a robot, but it actually is remotely operated from a control center in the Philippines. So it does create some jobs in the control center in the Philippines, where the wages are lower, and the people in the control center watch the cameras that are attached to that so-called robot in Stop and Shop, in corporate documents, that Marty is what they describe Marty as is a mobile data collection system. They collect information with their cameras. One of the biggest flaws in this bill is it doesn't put any regulation on how these delivery devices are going to collect data with their cameras or their other sensors. They're going to go into a courtyard of an apartment building or up a driveway or down the sidewalk onto your property, and they'll have their cameras on, they'll have their other sensors on, and what's going to be used, what are they going to do with that information that they get from the cameras from looking onto your property? There's no regulation of that whatsoever in this bill. Obviously, that's something that they might try to make money from, but the bill doesn't regulate how they collect information. Do they have the right to try to access your Wi-Fi? If Amazon has a delivery device, can that delivery device go up to your front door and talk to your Amazon Nest inside your home? There's no regulation on any of this, and experience shows that when they have authorization to travel into your house. They can collect data if there's no regulation on it. And in this bill, there is no regulation. So it's, I think this bill is very much premature. It's trying to allow companies to use a new technology to deliver products instead of having a human deliver products, which does save the company money. It does allow the company to gather data on consumers, but it does not. There's no adequate regulation about the safety and other concerns. And apparently, if the bill passes, the company would be authorized to deliver a product to your house without telling you in advance that they're going to send this device vehicle over there without even giving you an opportunity to ask for a human to deliver it. So you can see all sorts of tense situations where people unexpectedly have a robot coming up to their front door or their driveway and delivering things, and they don't even know who sent that robot. So the bill claims that it's not going to be a motor vehicle, but as I said, under state law, it definitely is a motor vehicle. It fits the definition. If we're going to allow motor vehicles on the sidewalk, which we usually don't, or possibly in other areas of the curtilage of your house, then there needs to be a lot more attention paid to the concerns that can come up, and I don't see any evidence that this bill deals with these concerns. So, given these problems, I would suggest that maybe this year is not the year to pass this kind of bill when these concerns have not yet been dealt with. There is a risk that the robot will crash into something, or that someone will accidentally damage the robot that they didn't expect to have on their property and then be sued for that. The bill isn't clear about who can be sued, although it seems to say that the bill isn't clear about who can be sued if the robot causes damages, although it seems to say that the business that owns the robot is considered the driver normally, but the business can choose to escape blame by claiming that the employee who was operating the robot was acting without authorization, and then the employee is considered the driver, not the company. I can see a lot of room for abuse there, even if in a particular case that the robot causes damage when an employee was somehow departing from their authorization. I think the business should have some share of liability there, simply because they are bringing in these intrusive robots, and they should know there's a risk that employees will depart from their authorization sometimes. So I don't think it should be totally easy for the out-of-state business that's operating these robots to divert liability to their employee. That section needs some work. So I think all in all, this bill is going to lead to more profits for out-of-state companies, but job loss in Rhode Island, and I don't see a reason to pass it as it stands. Thank you.
Thank you, Randall, for your testimony. Are there questions from committee members? I think it was a very extensive testimony and brought up a lot of very good points. Thank you, Mr. Rose. That will conclude the witness list on S27, and we've learned a great deal tonight, but we need to learn more. And I think it's appropriate with the amount of testimony, and we know there's going to be some amendments added to this. I would entertain a motion to hold S27. Do we have such a motion? We have a motion by Senator Coleman. Is there a second?
So moved to Lynn Morgan.
I second it.
Second.
Okay, we have several seconds. Senator Morgan, and I don't know who else did it, but we got a second. So now we can do a roll call. Mr. Clerk, if you please.
Senator Anderson.
Yes.
Senator Gallo.
Yes.
Senator Coleman.
Yes.
Senator Lombardo.
Yes.
Senator Mack. Senator Mendes,
Yes.
Senator Morgan,
Yes.
Senator Picard,
Yes.
Senator Sosnowski.
Yes.
We have 9 votes in the affirmative, 0 votes in the negative.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. So we will hold Bill S-27. Thank you very much, Senator DiPalma, for your presentation this evening, and we will be working with you on this.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, committee. Have a good weekend.
You also. Thank you.